What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Dbacks swept by the St. Louis Cardinals, breaking down what went wrong in that series and why the Dbacks lineup needs to be modernized in 2025.
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, please follow me on Twitter at CareerThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks on both Twitter and Instagram for the podcast handles. It's so important to follow me on social media because I like to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday after Dbacks games, when I can, of course. It's an interactive show. You could drop comments in the YouTube section. I'll read it live on air. And so to notified when I go live, you got to follow me on social media because I tweet it out before I go live. And also, you want to follow me Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube, because if you hit that little bell icon, you also get notified when I go live. So please follow me on YouTube and wherever you stream your podcast. But on today's Locked on D-Backs podcast, we're going to be discussing that disgusting D-back sweep to the St. Louis Cardinals, needing more from the D-back stars Zac Gallen and Ketel Marte, and why the D-backs lineup needs to be updated with Geraldo Perdomo batting third. Before we jump into the podcast, I first want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And again, one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. But now let's get into the podcast. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast to discuss that D-back sweep. And like our friend Coda Kid said, I'm so hurt right now. Another frustrating D-back sweep at the hands, this time to the St. Louis Cardinals. D-backs, close games, every game of the series. Literally every game of the series was a one-run loss. But when you have a team that can't execute, when you have a team that doesn't have situational hitting, doesn't have a clutch bullpen, rotation struggling once we get that third time through the lineup, when no one is just doing what it seems like they're supposed to do, it's hard to win games. And the D-backs just had another series where they got swept. They look gross. The team that they just played, the St. Louis Cardinals, on paper, this is like year one of a rebuild for St. Louis. This is a team that's not even expected to compete this year, not even expected to win games, had no expectations coming to 2025. And their new manager, Oliver Marmol, I believe is his name, he's got the team playing well. We talk about being greater than the sum of your parts. That's what the Cardinals are. When you look at that team on paper compared to the D-backs, I don't even think it's a comparison. I think the D-backs wash the Cardinals in terms of on paper talent, but the Cardinals as a team, like we saw, play so much better. Every time their starting pitcher reliever seems to give up the lead, felt like their offense came back and made up for it, or they had a shutdown inning after their offense just came through for their pitching staff. And so it felt like a whole team effort. We saw how good they were at closing games at times as well this series, something the D-backs have not been able to do all 2025. And so this was a super, again, frustrating series because the D-backs could have easily won 2 out of 3 games in this series if they just execute better. But when you can't execute better than a team like the St. Louis Cardinals with the talent that they have, it's going to be very frustrating to win any games and build momentum toward the postseason. You look at this series, you look at that series against the Dodgers, you look at so many series the last few weeks, and it's like win after win, series after series, just being flushed down the drain. And I have friends who love baseball, and they just keep telling me, yeah, those first 80 games this season doesn't matter. You just have to be 500 around the All-Star break and then get hot in the second half, and that's all that matters. And yes, to a point, that is true because that was the D-backs in 2024. First half sucked, but just stayed around 500. Then got hot in the second half. But the issue was you lost the tiebreaker to other teams in the National League because of your struggles in the first half of the season. I don't like flushing games at any point of the year. And so when my friends tell me the first half of the season doesn't matter because there's 162 games, I tell you, just look at the 2024 D-backs and see how losing games early in the season, when you need those wins for tiebreakers later in the year, how much it can affect you. I just think baseball fans don't understand that at all. I think because there's 162 games, we think you can just say, mess around and screw around with all these early games and not have a sense of urgency. If there's games you can win, I believe you should go out there and try to win as many games as possible. You shouldn't put your players in positions where they could get compromised. You shouldn't sell all out for wins in April and May, but these winnable series, winnable games where the D-backs are just flushing it down the toilet, it's going to come back to hurt the D-backs. And when they don't make it to the postseason and everyone just says, well, how did they not make it? They were so good in the second half of the year. What happened to the D-backs team? I'm going to say, look at the first half when they could have started the season as the best team in the NL West, or at least been right there within 2 games of the division lead. Instead, you look at the standings today after the D-backs sweep to the St. Louis Cardinals. Let me pull up the standings real quick because the D-backs in the NL West are now 6.5 games back of the LA Dodgers. They're a game below 500, and it's just disgusting to see right now. This was a series where we saw terrible situational hitting. How many times was there a man on third, less than 2 outs, and the D-backs just didn't come through? D-backs overall in the series, I believe they were either 5 for 26 or 6 for 26 with runners in scoring position. Some terrible ABs in late game situations. Our top of the lineup, Carroll, Marte, and Gurriel, just uncompetitive at-bats in the series finale. Bad at-bats by Marte and Suarez in game 2 of the 9th inning. The bullpen, of course, never seems to have a shutdown inning when we need it. D-backs score 4 in the top of the 8th in game 2. Then sadly, our guy J Mart off the IL comes in. He immediately blows it. Beeks, of course, he couldn't bail out Ginkel in the finale with the game tied because it never seems like our relievers can have that shutdown inning when there's runners on the bases from the previous guy. Then our 6th inning recently has been kryptonite too. D-backs have lost like 5 straight games in the 6th inning or later, and a lot of the times is just directly in that 6th inning. We saw Gallen. He was cruising in game 1 until he hit a wall in the 6th inning. Fott, he seemed to come apart a little bit in the 6th inning of the finale today. He gave up the lead. Kelly, he made it through 6, but then immediately in that 7th inning, saw he was gassed, saw he was tired, and he still had to go out there and battle, and it did not work out for him. That's where I put a little bit of blame on Torey Lovullo because it feels like Torey has no pulse whatsoever for this D-backs team, no feel whatsoever, whether it comes to pulling starters, pulling relievers, picking relievers, setting up a lineup. It just feels like Lovullo has no pulse on this team whatsoever. Not having Perdomo bat third, I think, is criminal. Not even having Moreno bat at the top of the lineup, I think, is criminal. I just think Lovullo has no feel whatsoever when it comes to this Arizona Diamondbacks team. They're playing bad baseball on almost every level, and it just feels like there's no real way to right the ship outside of we'll be better tomorrow, guys, because that's like the only message Torey Lovullo has for his guys. You look around the National League and you just see how much better teams are playing despite not being as talented as the D-backs. Yes, it's still so early in the season, but if this continues the way it is, why aren't the D-backs not going to finish like the Phoenix Suns 2.0, a super talented team that just doesn't play well together and then ultimately disappoints the Arizona fans? I think that's the track we're currently on if the D-backs continue down this path. Now we'll discuss why the D-backs need more from Zac Gallen and Ketel Marte in segment number 2. But hey, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't miss moments. Whether it's a game winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip off and live with player props, performance trends, and same game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is that same game parlay because whenever I see the D-backs are playing, give me the D-backs money line, give me the over and total bases for Corbin Carroll, and give me D-backs over on total runs. When that three-leg hits, it brings a big smile to my face. And if you want a big smile on your face, just visit FanDuel.com. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. And now let's discuss needing more from Zac Gallen and Ketel Marte. Because the way Zac Gallen is pitching right now is not making me happy. Super frustrating to see because this has been a guy who has been a pillar for the D-backs the last few years. This is a guy who's been absolutely fantastic for Arizona. And right now, for whatever reason, he is just not pitching good in 2025. And it's something that's been trending in the wrong direction probably for like a season and a half now. And the weird thing is, it's not really easy to pinpoint like what's been going wrong with Zac Gallen in 2025. We know he's dealt with command issues. We know the fastball isn't where we want it to be, but even so, you look at the stats on his pitches and they're not that bad. Like the fastball this season is definitely his most ineffective pitch, but the numbers tell you it's not any worse than what it was last year. A 259 average allowed on his fastball, a 473 slugging allowed on his fastball. Like those aren't crazy numbers. And then you look at his numbers for the knuckle curve, the changeup, the slider. The numbers actually tell you those pitches are as effective that he's thrown in like 2 or 3 years. Like the numbers on his curve, changeup, and slider are like the best since like 2022 or like 2023, like, or maybe even the best of all time. Like you actually look at his knuckle curve numbers compared to other seasons in Major League Baseball, you can argue this is the best season he's ever had with that knuckle curve. You look at his numbers for his changeup this year, you can make the argument it's the best changeup he's ever had. And so what has really gone wrong with Zac Gallen this year? The numbers on his pitches tell you it's kind of fine, right there with his career numbers, maybe even better than some of his career numbers. You look at like his platoon splits, he's really not that bad against righties or lefties. It's kind of equal. The only thing that looks weird for Zac Gallen is he's been terrible with 2 outs this season, and he's been bad early in games. And that's probably where he struggled the most. He comes out the gate slow, ineffective. He needs to get out to a hotter start. But if you're actually just looking at the makeup of what's been wrong with Zac Gallen, it's hard to figure out. He's such a like in his head type of pitcher where it feels like if something's not working for him, maybe he just puts too much pressure on himself. And so for Gallen, he might just need something of a reset because the way he's pitching 2025 has me wondering, should all our options be on the table? Because right now, I think it should be. Whether that's trading Zac Gallen at the deadline, if the D-backs continue to look like a mediocre baseball team around or below 500, we're at the deadline, we're a few games below 500, maybe you trade your pending free agent pitcher in Zac Gallen and see what you could get for him. Maybe you trade Zac Gallen because you think he's holding the D-backs back and you actually like your internal options better and you think the team could be better if you traded Zac Gallen. That's an insane take, but you like Nelson, you like Kelly, Fott, Burns, and maybe like a guy like Christian Mena you think is ready for the primetime action and you think he just is slightly better than Zac Gallen at this point. Maybe you trade Zac Gallen then in that scenario. Or maybe you do what you just did with Erod and do that fake injury and you say, Gallen, we're going to get you a little reset. You have not looked right in 2025. Let's try to figure out what's wrong with you. Let's try to rebuild your confidence and then give Christian Mena a couple of starts. I think we're at the point where all our options are on the table with Zac Gallen because he has not looked right for a while now. And internally, I just don't think we can fix him. It's giving Robbie Ray, where Robbie Ray started his career fantastic with the D-backs, was an all-star early, had put up great numbers early in his career, then every single season seemed to get a little bit worse till that very last season where he just was just a really bad pitcher, 3 true outcome kind of guy, did not pitch deep into ball games, gave up home runs, gave up a lot of walks, and it was like, this guy's more frustrating, more of a headache than he is positive. And Zac Gallen's starting to get to that point where he's more negative than positive for the D-backs. But also, like Robbie Ray, I believe if he goes somewhere else, Zac Gallen will immediately be good again. And it's going to be so sad to see. And so that's why I think the D-backs need to look at all their options right now for Zac Gallen. I want Gallen on the team, but he has to pitch better than what he's doing right now. And I don't know how much confidence I have in Zac Gallen to turn around his season in 2025. He's currently the weakest link in the rotation with Erod on the IL. Zac Gallen is the weakest, least trustworthy starter in the D-backs rotation, which sounds insane to say because I never thought we would be at this point with Zac Gallen, but we are, and we have to discuss. There's like a Gallen for Jazz Chisholm type deal where I'm just saying it's a 1-for-1 and we get back a player that can help us out right now. D-backs would need to consider that. Maybe you look at the upcoming free agent market and try to do a 1-for-1 trade with a pending free agent in 2025, because with the way Zac Gallen has pitched in 2025, I think all our options need to be on the table. And then Ketel Marte, he is someone that the D-backs need to he needs to step up more in the clutch. His numbers are fantastic overall. When you look at a 952 OPS, he's shown so much power this season, seemingly hitting a home run every other day, has crushed right-handed pitching as he always does. But overall in the clutch, we just need more Ketel Marte, because like we saw the last 2 games, he comes in the 9th inning and he just does nothing for the D-backs. Last season, Ketel Marte, that was his strength. In the 9th inning in 2024, Ketel Marte absolutely thrived for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He had a 395 average, 395 average, 1449 OPS, and 9 home runs and 43 at-bats last year in the 9th inning. He was incredible. You look at his numbers with runners in scoring position last year, 328 average, a 1074 OPS. Look at his numbers in high leverage moments, 338 average, 990 OPS. Ketel Marte was so clutch last season. But so far in 2025, the same can't be true. Runners in scoring position. I don't know if you believe this. This was entering today's game. Ketel Marte was 2 for 22 with runners in scoring position entering today's game. His batting average in high leverage moments, he was only 2 for 10 entering today's game. He has not been a good hitter in the clutch this season, and it's so weird to see because Marte has been such a clutch hitter throughout his career. He's 5 for 36 with just men on the bases in 2025. 2 outs on the board. Ketel Marte, he's 4 for 28. Whenever he's like faced adversity as a hitter this year, Ketel Marte had just not come through in those situations. He's been a guy that's been really good early in games, middle innings, but in the clutchest moments of the game, Ketel Marte has not always exactly stepped up in 2025. And more specifically, the last few weeks in some of these really big series where we've needed clutch hits late in games. We've seen against the St. Louis Cardinals, Marte get some at-bats in the 9th inning, and it didn't really amount to much of anything. Going forward, if the D-backs are going to right the ship and turn it around, we need 2 pillars of our franchise to get better. Zac Gallen overall needs to be better because of ERA north of 5 is just terrible. Overall, he needs to be better. Ketel Marte, he still has very good traditional numbers. We just want him to step up a little bit more in the clutch. If we can start getting more production from those 2 guys, it will help out the D-backs, obviously, tremendously going forward. But now we'll discuss why the D-backs lineup needs to be updated in segment number 3.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SHF for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com.
Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Now let's discuss why the D-backs lineup needs to be updated, needs to be modernized, and that starts with moving Geraldo Perdomo to the number 3 slot. Please, I don't want to hear the idea of balancing the lineup anymore with Geraldo Perdomo. I don't trust those people that tell me Geraldo Perdomo batting bottom third in the lineup is a good deal. Those people are probably serial killers. Do not trust them. When Perdomo was a 220 hitter that came through at the bottom of the lineup as more of like, oh, what a nice feeling. That's when I was fine with him as a number 9 hitter. When I didn't have high expectations for Perdomo, when it felt like not fluff, but it was like, oh my God, he was truly our number 9 hitter coming through in clutch situations. It felt really good to see Perdomo do that, but at that time, I also didn't think Perdomo was good enough to be a top-of-the-order bat. Even when he was like a D-backs catalyst the last couple of years, in so many moments, I never felt like, should we move Perdomo top 3? Maybe, but I love him as the number 9 hitter, and I think it made sense, and I think it was fine the previous couple seasons for Geraldo Perdomo to be the number 9 hitter. But now that Domo is a 300, 400, 500 guy, when you look at his slash line, I think it's insane that he doesn't bat behind Corbin Carroll and Ketel Marte. And Perdomo's official slash line is 304, 401, 475. So not exactly 500, but he's very, very close. Domo's at-bats are just too good for them to come from the bottom third of the lineup. He has the best at-bats on this D-backs team, and the fact that they come from the number 9 hole, I think is crazy, because you want your best at-bat person, the best guy with the approach to plate appearances, to bat near the top of the lineup so it could trickle down. You want him to see starters earlier in games, right? If this guy has the best, plate discipline on the team, don't you want to see him at the top of the lineup so you could tell everyone else, hey, this is what I'm seeing, this is what he's throwing, this is what his tendency is right now, right? Wouldn't you want a guy like Domo to be at the top of your lineup to coach up everyone else on your team? That's what I would think if I'm the D-backs manager. And also, it just feels like a lot of these games recently have come down to the D-backs number 3 hitter. And that number 3 hitter for the D-backs is Lourdes Gurriel coming up for the final at-bat. You just know it's an out. Whether it's runners on or bases empty with 2 outs, if that situation has Geraldo Perdomo, you know he's just doing something positive. He's great at bringing home guys, but he's also great at extending innings. If there's 2 outs, it does not matter with Jerry. He can extend an inning and create something positive out of nothing at all times. The idea of your best run producer and arguably a top 12 player offensively right now in the game batting bottom third of your lineup, again, is insane and something that drives me crazy. I have D-backs fans, and they justify it. They believe having a balanced lineup with having Domo in the bottom third actually makes sense. Well, you know who disagrees with Torey Lovullo? The rest of the National League. Because here are the rest of the National League teams and who they have batting third on their roster. The Braves, it's always Marcell Ozuna or Matt Olson. The Phillies, it's Kyle Schwarber or it's Bryce Harper. The Cubs, it's usually Seiya Suzuki. The Reds, it's usually Ella De La Cruz. The Dodgers, it's usually Freddie Freeman. The Brewers, it's usually Christian Yelich or Contreras. The Mets, it's usually Juan Soto. Pirates, Brian Reynolds. Padres, Manny Machado. Giants, Jung Ho Lee. The Cardinals, it's Brendan Donovan, who is having the best season of any Cardinal this season. The Nationals, is typically James Wood or Nathaniel Lowe. Even the Colorado Rockies put Hunter Goodman as their number 3 hitter. Entering the season, no one even had a thought about Hunter Goodman. But guess what? He started the season so hot, the Rockies were like, yeah, he's one of our best 3 hitters. Let's move him up to the number 3 slot. Every team in the National League has one of their 3 best players batting number 3 for them, except for the Arizona Diamondbacks. The only franchise in the National League that you could definitively say has a worse number 3 hitter than the Dbacks, I think, is the Miami Marlins. And that's only because they don't have a talent better than Gurriel, right? Their lineup is so bad, they don't have a number 3 hitter to put that's better than Lord Gurriel. But the rest of the National League, I think they're all very comparable to Gurriel. Even Hunter Goodman, when you look at his stats on the Colorado Rockies. But it's not like the D-backs don't have an option that can match up with anybody else that I just named. If Geraldo Perdomo is your number 3 hitter, he's definitely as good this season as anyone I named. Maybe on paper, he's not as dynamic as the Ella De La Cruz. Maybe he doesn't have the career track record of Freddie Freeman or the Schwarbers, but how he's playing this season, he's on the level of those guys. The fact that he bats 7th sometime just in the middle of the lineup is insane. You got guys like Gurriel and Suarez who just seems to strike out in the biggest moments of a D-backs ball game. Meanwhile, Perdomo is the best player you have when it comes to plate discipline, the best run producer you have, and he just consistently bats in the bottom of the lineup. I think it makes absolutely no sense, and I think for the D-backs, they need to move him up and need to modernize this lineup. Ketel Marte, Domo, and then Naylor, number 4. And then I will go Gabby Moreno, number 5, because he has been on a tear recently. If you're not going to do that, I need at the very least Moreno to bat 3rd because he also has great at-bats, great play discipline, doesn't strike out enough, and has a pretty good walk rate. I know a guy like Eugenio Suarez is going to have way more home runs, way more RBIs than Moreno, but I care about your play discipline so much, and I want the top of my lineup to be stacked with guys who I know can at least draw a walk and not strike out and put the ball in play and do something positive. Gurriel and Suarez just don't do that enough. Perdomo and Moreno do that at such a high level. Domo needs to be the number 3 hitter. I would put Moreno as the number 5 hitter, and those would be my adjustments to this D-backs lineup to modernize it. Going to this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, got Ryan Nelson going to game 1, looking to build a good start after what he did against the LA Dodgers. Another great start would make me feel like he definitely has the rotation spot over Eduardo Rodriguez. You can also make the argument that the Pirates are the worst offense in the National League when looking at the stats. So you hope this is a get-right series for the Arizona Diamondbacks, but considering how they played in 2025, nothing is guaranteed. That's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Deuces.